broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Guess not.
Welcome, guys. Like that. Welcome, guys, to the Walking Dead AfterBuzz After Show. Welcome back for the mid-season. We're back in a big way. But first of all, I'm Dave Klein, and joining me tonight, why don't you introduce yourselves this time?
You forgot our names already? Jeez.
Derrial, yes.
It's so long.
Joyce, I don't even know your name. See, I'm saying it so you know I know your
Look
name.
at
So
you.
bad.
So clever.
I will start it off. How about that? This is Nando Velasquez. Hello.
Hey guys, I'm Joyce. I'm so glad we're back.
What's up, walkers? This is Derrial Christon. I'm very happy to be back.
I hope
I'm
there
excited.
are no walkers out there.
And we got a new set here for those of us
We do.
watching, and we have a hashtag.
is.
I believe our hashtag is ABTV Walking Dead, because we have our Twitter graphics now when we say our names.
Yeah,
too.
I like the way you said
Oh,
that.
wow.
That sounded very
With our
cool.
Twitter
the way
things.
you
Yeah,
said
it's a
that.
lot of changes
actually,
here.
yeah.
Those of you who are not on iTunes but watching us streaming live on AfterBuzz TV or on YouTube right now.
The Twitter graphics. All right, cool.
Yes.
Lower thirds.
Lower thirds.
Hello, third.
So let's go ahead and jump right into the episode because there's a lot of big things that happened this time. Specifically, the recap of what happened last time. That was probably the biggest thing that happened. But we're going to go into it anyways. So we're going to talk about what kind of led us to where we are, which is everything with Beth dying,
Yeah.
the last episode from the mid-season, which led us to here, where the whole idea is that they're going back to Noah's hometown because that's what Beth would have wanted. And that's why they're at Noah's hometown, who is so surprised that somehow everyone died. That's shocker.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
I think because he was in the hospital for so long, I mean, he didn't really get the scope of, the whole community is just vanishing like that.
But my thing is, did he not realize how much time had passed? You know what I mean? Because he was so
a good
surprised.
question.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think what we're looking at too, since we're talking about this, is Noah didn't deal with a lot of the things that everyone. He was sheltered. He was in a sheltered land. I mean, the worst thing he had to worry about was Dawn and the officers and just playing the way he's supposed to play in that world. So he hasn't seen the full scope of what's been going on for the past year or so.
Yeah.
Like, I
So-
want to go back.
Yeah.
And how quickly people can just turn and a whole community could just go to shit, basically.
And unfortunately,
in no time.
Rick and Glenn and everyone else, they've been out in the world and they've seen this happen. I mean, there was a big discussion about, Rick and Glenn saying, did you really think there were going to be anyone alive? No. And Rick said, no, but I wanted to honor Beth by bringing Noah home because that's what she wanted. So.
But also, it could have been a chance for them to have a place to stay for a while and not just keep moving and being nomads. I mean, it's a chance he wanted to take anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they've been doing this whole time.
It's also interesting when you try to dissect exactly why things were the way they were with the cut bodies, but we'll get into that in a little bit because I think the main thing that we really should be discussing is the intro that led into a huge event. So the intro at first was, to me, a little trippy and confusing. I was like, okay, are they showing us things from the past or the future?
Yeah.
And slowly you start to realize, oh, all these things are things to come. And you're not quite sure why Maggie's crying, which you assume is because of Beth, but she doesn't cry about Beth. She doesn't care about Beth. I would never cry for Beth. Only other people.
Yeah.
Other people.
It was like the 420 segment or something. It was a very trippy
It was
psychedelic
weird.
intro.
Yeah, I mean, like, even just the opening scene with, like, the shovel and just trying to figure out what that meant. And then, like, there was a lot of, I felt like, lyrics to this episode. It was like, look at now at what can be seen, but what cannot be seen in denial. There's, like, a lot of things that you had to, like, really, we were rewinding a lot this episode, actually, just to play back of, like, what the statements were. So
To
we
make
could,
sense
to
of a
make
lot
sense
of
of
it.
what it was, yeah.
It's true. I mean,
And Nando, I thought Nando was going to make some, like,
I
profound statement.
was
after
like,
that.
I was waiting for Nando to
I was
jump
like,
in.
Nando, I was waiting for you to jump in.
I do that enough, don't I? Okay.
well, no, during the intro too, I was thinking, okay, things from the past, things that are now, photos of what used to be and everything.
Yeah.
And then every time, the scenes would actually pop up during the episode. I'm like, that was from the intro. Oh,
Yeah.
now I get it.
Noah's twin
twins.
brothers.
Yeah, I thought maybe the little kids, one of them was Noah when he was younger.
So did I.
Or
That's what.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something
I thought
we
it
were
was Noah.
I was
discussing.
like,
was
what
one of them
house
might have
is
been
that?
Noah.
And then the blood, I was like, wait a second.
The blood on the picture.
Yeah, we were very specifically like at first when we saw the house in the intro, we were thinking, oh, is that where Mika died?
Yeah,
we weren't quite sure what
it looked a lot like the house from where Mika and Lizzie were at. Yeah, and you saw the blood going on top of it. It was all weird, but it ended up being all.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I really like the way that they handled this episode and Tyrese's death, which is what it turned out to be. Yeah. So Tyrese,
spoiler alert! Spoiler if you've not watched the episode. Sorry, spoiler alert.
So Tyrese is now dead, and what it turned out was, the way that he got bit, I thought was really stupid. But come on. But other than that, though, I liked all the horror elements that they brought into his death and the way they handled him dying, I should say. His dying sequence I liked, and I thought that was really cool. But yeah, his actual death itself is sort of like, Tyrese, come on, man.
I know.
Really?
Well, I thought the whole thing leading up to them sort of like going to Noah's house and like everything they were doing, it was like, really, like, this is not going to end well for either one of them. I knew Tyrese was going, he wanted to make sure Noah was going to be okay, but I was like, this is not going to end well. It's like every time in the previous seasons when Carl would walk off by himself. That's how I felt in this episode. Like, something's not going to go right.
Well, here's also my thing. At this stage, would you have any skin really exposed? You know what I mean? Like, he got bit, but wouldn't you keep all your clothing, over your arms? Granted,
we're talking about what season it was, so I guess that depends on the season.
That's true, but still, even with the season, you have walkers around you at all times.
You gotta find the Under Armour stash, so you can always wear some Under Armour.
Layer it up, baby. Layer it up. Yeah. That's all I got to say.
Well, what's funny about the way that Tyrese got bit, a couple of things. First of all, I even said it before, when he was willing to be the first one to go into Noah's house.
Right.
That was the first time we really saw him, and he had the knife out. Yeah. So this is somebody who has not has had issues killing even walkers. He's been nervous about killing walkers, and here he is supporting Noah and trying to cheer him up, telling Noah it's not over just because everyone in his little town is gone, his little section of Richmond. But he's trying to cheer him up, and then he's taking initiative and going in the house. That's the first thing. And then the other thing, which is weird, especially when we start seeing his freaky little dream sequences and all the people who passed, is Martin keeps saying how, you're the guy who saves babies. Of course, you're not going to die, and it was going to be you. And how did he get bit? He got, I wouldn't call it a baby, but he got bit by a kid.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of ironic in a way.
Well, as far as what you were saying, Joyce, I had no fear going into that house with them because I'm so used to seeing them handle situations just fine. Especially Tyrese, where you see him, a giant group of walkers will surround him, and then he just comes out unscathed. Yeah. I'm like, whatever, it's fine. I didn't really think anything of it. And he was being smart too, like he was banging on the door before he went in to attract walkers. And that's why I thought it was kind of lame.
Smart.
Right, which is smart.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of thought it was a little lame, was because he hears the creaking noises of something's obviously in there, and he gets distracted by the picture on the wall of the twins. And why also did that distract him so much? That distracted him so much that he didn't think anything else.
He's still so traumatized about the girl's death.
That's true. I guess it's another pair of twins.
It's just something that he can't really let go of. It's really hard for him to get past. He seems like just to be the softie in the group, and for someone to hang on to the fact that kids are dying and this is a reality, and I witnessed little kids dying. Like I think that's just something that sort of came back and creeped
what I was thinking too is that, because we don't know much about, and we kind of commented on this when we were watching the show about all the ghosts that he's seeing. We don't know much about his past other than when we've seen him on the show. Right. So kind of like Michonne alluded to, I was thinking when I saw that maybe he was thinking about kids. Like maybe he had kids of his own. Maybe. We don't know what happened in his past.
But my biggest problem with actually the kind of foreshadowing of all the images that he saw of the people that have been in his life that have died is that the main focus of Tyrese has been his girlfriend, of why he why he's been the way he is, and they didn't show her. Yeah. Like they showed everyone else, but they didn't show her. And I'm sorry, I'm blanking on her name, which
Laura?
Joyce was it
Is it Laura or Gloria? I can't remember now. We didn't have a chance to look it up. So
text us
apologies.
or send us a note right now to let us know.
We didn't have a chance
It's a
to look
lot
it
of
up.
seasons. Sorry, we didn't have a chance to look that up. But my main point with that is that she was a focus of the way Tyrese is overall, and they didn't show her.
Yeah.
You know, so
and that's something we were talking about as we were watching too, and I was thinking like, oh, maybe as the sun was fading away, she would appear, or something to indicate. And then I was joking, well, maybe they just couldn't book her or something like that.
Maybe she wasn't free.
maybe she's on another AMC show, maybe possibly.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, we got David Morrissey. He was the hard one, and so we have to shoot the day that David Morrissey can make it. But yeah, like that was a little weird to me too. That was the character who he seemed to care about the most. You think in a lot of ways. I mean, yeah, Mika was one of them too, but I really, that was his love.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way he was with Carol. That set the transition. Even the way he was with the little girls, like everything was a basis of the relationship with her in the prison.
That's true.
So I just thought it was a little weird they didn't show her.
I will say, and there was something we want to mention too, as far as the shots go, that was kind of something cool that if you notice it was when before he got bit, just before he saw the picture of the twins, there's a little airplane thing hanging in the sky, and all of us were like, what's that thing in the sky? We're like, oh, is it a spacecraft? Is it an airplane? We're trying to figure it out. And then immediately afterwards, he turns around and that's what is used to kill the walker.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately afterwards. But that's, it was like a little bit of a foreshadow in a way to what was going to happen. But I gotta say, like, outside of the fact that I did think it was kind of weird the way he ended up dying, and the fact it was more just I thought I was like, man, he seems like he can handle himself, and just that to be the way. I did really like this whole ghost sequence and the radio stuff that was going on, and the fact that it brought back the beginning of the episode where they're listening to the radio and he's talking about, oh yeah, I always listen to the radio so I can be ahead and watch out, and that's how you got to fight to live, and this is how you can do it.
It's the cost of living.
Right, it's the cost of living, is always knowing about the horrors that are going to be ahead. And then the radio was incorporated into it, and then Beth's singing after she stopped singing.
Very eerie this episode.
Her voice was then part of the radio.
Haunting.
She was part of the radio too, and it was just very haunting, and I like that, and it was just something different that we don't usually see, is that a character having that perspective of all the dead people around him, which are really just figments of his own thoughts.
Yeah.
And something important for him too was the governor and David Morrissey, and specifically what David Morrissey was saying about paying the bill.
Yeah.
So that was a really important part that factored into him, where I guess Tyrese, until he finally started arguing that he did fine and didn't agree with David Morrissey, he hadn't paid the bill, he hadn't done his part.
Yeah, and then when you were talking about Beth even just singing the song, she kept speaking about a struggling man, and I felt like that was Tyrese's struggle of like all the things, the foreshadowing of the ghosts that were in his life, and just him, I don't know if it was like accepting death, like what that struggling man meant, but like Beth kept saying the part about struggling man.
I was thinking that too, and the lyrics were kind of going on as they were, reeling him out of the house, and they were moving on, they were walking, they were running, trying to escape the walkers that were following him.
Yeah.
They were trying to carry him, keep him moving and stuff. But I also liked, when Tyrese was talking about why his dad told him to listen to the news and listen to the radio, so that he could always be a part of it, so he could be a part of the world, a part of what's happening. And when Martin kept telling, Martin, the imagination Martin was telling him, like, you're not a part of it. You're the one that's not a part of it. You can't, this is not you. And that was just, I was like, that's cool. It's like the complete opposite of what Tyrese's dad told him about.
Yeah, and eventually that's when he starts to fade in a lot of ways too, is that, this world isn't his world, and he's not a part of this world. He was still wanting to be a part of the world of the past. But also the other thing with Martin too that Martin brings up is it does bring, as these are all, they're really all just Tyrese's mind, and it's all how Tyrese feels about himself in different reflections. So that reflection of, did he really do the right thing with not killing Martin? And he always went forward with being the pacifist, being the good guy was the right thing to do, and he really has been questioning it. At least that's what it brings forth, because in his mind's eye, this is possibly why Bob died, even though then he has his other side of him that says, oh no, it was always going to happen, it had nothing to do with that, as Bob is that other side. But there's still that doubt, which is what Martin represents, of if he's been doing the right thing, and if he's been playing by the rules of this world.
I think you know, it was really interesting just seeing Martin and Bob, because I really think, like you said, it definitely was playing on. I don't know why I kind of think of Forrest Gump, like that whole answer in Forrest Gump. Forgive me if I haven't seen it. Like, are we all like destined to be like, is fate our, you know, are we destined to follow fate, or are we in control of our own destiny? And I think in this sense, it's kind of the opposite. It's like, do we believe in our consequences? Yeah. And I think, you know, it's mentioned a lot. Even, you know, I don't know if we're going to talk about this as much, but even like when Rick and Glenn are talking about Dawn, you know, knowing that Dawn didn't intend to do it and whether or not it's just all about consequences. And Martin is just there teasing Tyrese, and Bob is there kind of like to calm him down, and he's got all these other things. But I really think what we're seeing is the inner turmoil that we've always seen, and what's probably frustrating about Tyrese as a character. It's just him being so wishy-washy, but just seeing the demons that he's facing himself and seeing the struggle that he's doing, and it's all coming out.
Yeah, it's all materialized and manifested in these visions that he's having.
Yeah.
Also, something cool, thank you, chat. Apparently, Andrew Lincoln was the voice of the radio, which I didn't realize. Andrew Lincoln, who plays Rick. Yeah.
He does have a British accent in real life.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you guys so much. Did not realize that.
And by the way, several people posted on the chat room that I guess Karen was
Karen. Yes.
I don't know where I came up with that.
I thought it was Laura.
Laura, you were closer to me. Thank you, guys.
I guess Laura's more of a typical name like Karen, so
Karen works.
Well, regardless, I felt like Karen should have been seen. But
it shows. I knew Martin's name. I knew everyone else's name there. But then it's like she's. I hate to say she's forgettable. She just didn't have as much presence as a lot of these other characters.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, I think that was possibly it. Yeah, more than anything. But I agree. I mean, they even talked about. One of the struggles was about, you know, when the governor was calling out Tyrese about forgiving the woman who killed someone he loved.
Yeah.
So it was obviously a major bit.
I think in a lot of ways, Tyrese's death was one of the more poetic deaths in the season, and the way that they incorporated everything for his struggles and the way that he went through everything in his life. As I said multiple times, as lame as the way he got bit was. And then all of that also culminating throughout from the intro of the episode, where we get the digging at the beginning, which is then how we ended out, and we get Gabriel giving the little sermon at the beginning, and then again it comes full circle at the end, as that's how we round out the episode, because we hear parts of that sermon at the beginning and don't quite know exactly what he's talking about,
who they're talking about,
right?
Yeah.
But it's so eerie. The things that you know, the things that you see are temporary, but the things you don't see are eternal. And I feel like he was talking about the ghosts, like without Gabriel even realizing it. He was talking about what we saw.
Yeah.
So it was just such an eerie.
And then we saw the walker that was in the car, the Volvo.
Yeah.
And we were trying to figure out, like, what does this mean? Like, who is this walker? And then, of course, it was like foreshadowing, because in the end we see the same walker at the end, with the scene of them driving with Tyrese. So
I just still love the fact that it started with Maggie crying. You immediately think, coming from last episode, is because Beth died and she's still upset about it, and that's possibly what it is. No, it's not. It's not. She's crying more about Tyrese than she did about Beth.
You can't say that she's not also crying about Beth.
It's like a combination, because she broke down for the Beth.
I mean, this is the only time
she did break down.
We can joke around about it, and definitely was a big topic of conversation the first half of the season. But at the same time, I mean, hearing Glenn's speech about, you know, them going on their own and losing Washington and then losing Beth hours after they realized that Beth was still alive and realizing there was hope. Yeah, just realizing that. So I think, you know, without really showing Maggie personally grieving for Beth, I think you know what I liked about Glenn saying that, at least, okay, it wasn't completely forgotten.
Well, yeah, and sure, it's just another hit. That's what it really is. It's just another thing.
Yeah.
It's just, first we lost Washington, and then we lost Beth, and now this, and I think that's going to lead the show to be that they're really, as we kind of start to see, that they're really starting to become broken, and especially with Michonne's discussion with Rick in this episode.
Yeah, she's very passionate about Washington.
Well, Michonne's the one that's holding on to hope out of the group. I mean, she's the one trying to figure out how to make Richmond livable and everything, and then she's the one who brought up Washington.
She's like, we can't keep moving.
But it's interesting, we see before with Glenn, when he lost Maggie and he was trying to find her, he's just driven, and everyone was just very driven when they were all disconnected, and at this point they're much more hopeless in a certain way.
Yeah, which you would think is the opposite.
Right, because now that they're reunited, but with everything that they've now been hit by, which would be those big things of Washington was another hope. Oh, it's gone. Beth was our our singer in the group, and now
It's
she's
starting
gone.
to wear on them now.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
don't you think it's a smart decision for them still to continue to voyage to Washington? I mean,
I think so too.
Yeah, I think so.
what do they have to lose?
I mean,
at this
and
point.
Michonne is right. Like, why would Eugene just pick Washington?
Right.
I mean, we know he's a smart guy. He's a liar, but he's a smart guy. There's got to be a reason. I mean, she said, he did the math.
Yeah.
And he must know something else, but he's, maybe not in the place to say it right now.
Yeah.
So we talked about it a little bit. We should probably swoop over and talk about Noah's storyline a little bit more too, because a lot of this episode was about Noah and the fact that we're finding out about a little bit more about his hometown, and just as he must have been pretty sheltered, as we were finding out, for the fact that he wouldn't even think of this as so much. That seems so much of a shocker to him when he saw the town and everything that had happened. Mm-hmm. I mean, you think if you'd known for a year and a half about everything, that you'd realize, like, oh, well, there's a very strong possibility I'm going to get there and I'm going to be sad, but not completely broken.
Because it's not like he's seen nothing of what's happening. I mean, he's seen people get bit. He's seen people turn. He's killed people.
He's seen Atlanta.
He's killed walkers. Yeah, he's seen Atlanta. You're right. I think his initial shock was kind of unexpected.
Yeah,
and
I
not
agree.
Merited.
I mean, I guess it's just that hope. You know what I mean? It's like that hope that you feel like, I know all this crap is going on, but maybe my family survived it. You know?
And I guess, again, it goes with the theme of all this loss of hope then, and throughout the episode where, I mean, we lost our hope with Washington. We lost our hope with Beth. Now Tyrese has gone, and Noah then had his hope, and he lost his hope. So it's just another example of this loss of hope that's been going on throughout the episode and the season.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are, as far as we know, they're in the wind.
Yeah.
They really are. I mean, they're all, it was interesting. I was thinking about this before the show because we didn't really talk about it in that way. But last season, the mid-season finale ended with Herschel dying. Mm-hmm. And that ended up being a major focal point. And this season, it ends with Beth dying. And they got split apart from that instance. And this one ends with Beth dying, but the group is finally together and they have new characters, but they couldn't be farther apart in a way, in a sense that they're just devastated.
Yeah.
And then even with Noah, okay, so it reminded me of the governor's kind of fortress, because they were all jumping over and looking over the fence. So maybe in Noah's mind he was thinking like, okay, this is like a protected community, and the walkers can't get to them. Like that's kind of the way they were at the beginning when they first got to Noah's location of where he grew up. It seemed like they were all kind of looking over the fence, and then Noah looked over and jumped over. In his mind, maybe it was like kind of like the fortress, like the governor's fortress. It's like, oh, the walkers can't get to these people that are behind this wall.
But we saw a walker. We saw a walker like within 10 seconds when they all jumped in.
Yeah.
What wasn't one of the flashes of the intro Woodbury? Am I mistaking it for another?
It kind of looked
scene.
No, it had a Woodbury,
like the colorful homes that we saw in the liner, like the shop fronts. And
no, I remember that. It looked like
well, that's why I thought they were trying to reference to kind of where Noah lived. Like it was kind of a reference to this fortress, this wall, this kind of.
Well, again, I think the intro was just, like I said, it was very trippy, but I think ultimately the intro was just like Tyrese's haze of his final moments, thinking of stuff that just as it was happening and all his visions and stuff from the past. Because that's when we first saw Tyrese. I mean, when he went to the prison and then they kind of kicked him out and he went over to Woodbury. So that's all part of his.
I think also one of the things too that I liked in this episode was that when they're trying to discuss, Michonne, Rick, and Glenn are talking about like, hey, should we just stay here? What do you think? And they're talking about all the reasons that it's a bad place and it's not fortified enough. There's the forest, so you don't have a line of sight. Mm-hmm. And then we start to get this breakdown of, oh, maybe this is where things started to go wrong. Maybe it was that forest that started things. And you also get all these other sights and glimpses of possible things that happened outside of the gunshots. But for example, there's some burnt bodies and corpses. There's also the people who were cut in half and then a full truck
because that's
full
definitely
of the top
not
halves.
done by walkers. That's definitely people being terrorized.
Yeah, and let's not forget too that we saw that writing on the wall, on that lower wall. Wolves are near.
I wrote that down.
Wolves aren't far or something. I have it circled somewhere.
I totally missed that.
Wolves not far.
Wolves not far.
So,
so maybe someone came and killed them. You think, or terrorized them?
I mean, what else could a wolf be? Other than some gang or some other group or something.
I mean, maybe also the radio feed that we learned was Andrew Lincoln's voice. He was saying things like these groups of people are terrorizing the prisons, killing women and children. So that whatever happened at what is the place called? Shirewilt?
So you think
was
that's actually
probably
what
the news
the
feed
radio was
about.
Oh, because the other
that's
thing
true.
too. And by the way, thank you, VU Nat and Brian Lee confirming that it was Woodbury at the beginning. But I think that's a great point because really, when I was thinking about the radio thing, there is no radio.
Yeah.
They can't have radio, so that's a great point. That probably is exactly what actually happened
It's
at
what
the town.
happened in the past, and that radio feed was probably from what Tyrese was remembering when all this first broke out. And that's why maybe he was saying, I know what happened. I know what it is now. Because
Yeah.
he was listening to everything as it was going on in the beginning.
But I mean, like those specific horrific events that you're talking about, maybe that actually is what was supposed to
Yeah.
have taken place in this
In
exact
this-
town,
yeah.
which is
Yeah,
actually really cool.
that
That's
makes
good.
sense.
I'll have to listen to that again because
Yeah.
I think that was something you just don't want to.
Yeah,
little tidbits there probably.
The journalist was definitely doing a play-by-play of what was actually happening
Right.
in different parts of the state.
Also, I want to point something out that was kind of confusing me, which was that there was like there were a couple skeletons on the ground
Yeah.
that weren't burnt, and I was just thinking, how do you get to that state of being a skeleton not burnt alive? Because that's usually from corrosion. But in this world, that's when you turn into a walker. How is that possible? I'm just throwing that out
maybe
there.
Maybe that skeleton's been there from like a homicide that happened years before
Right.
everyone
It
turned.
just happened to be there because there were some burnt corpses or burnt skeletons. I'm like, okay, I get that. They got burnt, and that's why the skeletons are there. But this one didn't have any burn marks on it. I'm watching Greg Nicotero. I don't understand it.
Well, I'm guessing it's just a layer. I mean, look, it's been how many years now since this world has started? It could have been an early death of a person
someone
or
got
a
stabbed.
walker.
Like the
And
beta
then-
version of the disease.
And then, and they've just decomposed so much that all you see really is a skeleton,
It's just a
or some
skeleton.
walkers
Yeah.
just chewing all the fat off the bone and just leaving a skeleton
Yeah,
behind
I guess
or
it is
something.
possible that someone died and then it was like through the head. It's died through the head and then they decomposed there. I don't know.
That's a good question, though. That's a good question.
yeah.
But yeah, so there were a lot of burnt bodies though and everything. So yeah, it's cool really that they leave all these hints throughout the episode. I like that for you to figure out what exactly happened in these towns. And they always try to do that. So
Yeah.
I thought this one in particular was one of the more interesting ones that we've seen throughout the show. But another thing that we get to with all of them trying to figure out what to do after this and seeing the town and trying to figure out if they're going to stay is we start to get Michonne's speech and a whole bunch of monologuing throughout the
So
episode.
many speeches. I was like, oh my gosh.
Michonne never spoke that much yet on
Yeah.
the show. I was amazed at how her
Yeah.
monologue in particular. I was like, wow, they've not allowed her to speak
Only
that much.
during this time and when she was, trying to befriend Carl.
Yeah.
Was when she
And
really
you got a little
had,
bit
like,
more of her
her
backstory, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But that was surprising because I don't even think in the comics she ever spoke that much.
I'm glad that Rick agreed with her. I'm glad that he's always been the leader. I know he's always also been very fair. Well, no, maybe not always, but he's become more fair. And I just like that he went along with Michonne's idea of like continuing on. And we're so close to Washington. Like, there's no reason why we shouldn't just keep going. And
Yeah.
I also like that little trick they did where he's like, we should go to Washington.
yeah, and she was like,
They do the pause. Yeah, it's like, oh, we should just leave.
Michonne's like,
no.
oh, here we go again.
Well, it's also Glenn too. He also had a reaction of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's sad seeing Glenn like that because Glenn has not been, Glenn has definitely been the one that's been persevering a lot more. So.
And we saw him breaking the CD in half, too. at the
Yeah,
beginning of the
there's
episode.
some anger there with
Looking
him
at his
too.
reflection
Yeah.
and what he's become.
Yeah,
and-
Absolutely.
Yeah, and especially with the last half of the season too. Like he was very much starting to become a leader and very on top of everything as they were heading to Washington before all the other loss of hope happened.
I think the death of Beth, as it's obviously going to affect Maggie throughout the rest of the season, and I feel like it's going to set Glenn back a little
yeah.
bit in terms of being more of the leader figure.
I agree.
I mean, not because he doesn't think that Maggie deserves to be like placated and everything, but he's going to be there for Maggie, which is going to force him to sort of step down.
Yeah.
And I think also with this whole thing with Eugene, there was so much hope there for all of them, and he was with Maggie, with Eugene, and then now we find out that that's a complete lie. It's like, with that and the death of Beth and others, the casualties are adding up, and that's mentally exhausting for him.
Totally.
Yeah.
And Herschel, Herschel was like a father figure for him.
So now all of Maggie's family and by extension his family, they're gone.
They're gone.
They're
Yeah.
gone.
I do think with Michonne, though, she had a great point in her speech, which was essentially that at the moment they're just walking around and just scavenging, and what is that? Where at least with Washington, that's something to go. There's still that hope, and with this whole theme that I keep on reiterating and saying over and over again and walking in circles about it, of just loss of hope and all that. It's like, as humans, you need some sort of hope, and you always hear different tales for things of, like, any horrible, tragic event. The one thing that you hear is like, oh, why do humans persevere? It's because we have hope. So it's like, you need that some type of hope. So why should we head to Washington? It's so we have some sort of hope, because maybe there's something there. We don't know, but at least we can have hope again. We have something.
Yeah.
Struggling man's got to keep moving.
Well, it's kind of like Rick said in the beginning. It's a last long trip we're going to make when they were going to Richmond, and if there's nothing there, we get to keep going. So they keep going on that last long trip.
Yeah.
So hoping that next trip is their last one.
Well, and this whole episode was about hope. I mean, you saw Noah, as we were saying, go to his house, and then we find what I guess was his mother.
Dead on the floor.
But it looked like she had a bullet wound to her head versus like being eaten by a walker or attacked by a walker. It looked more like a bullet wound to her head, like a self-inflicted bullet wound.
Yeah, or maybe her husband did it and then offed himself, something like that. But yeah, it definitely was a bullet wound. Yeah. Unless Weird Walker's just like, I just want this little chunk, and that's all.
This little chunk of her brain. That's it. That's the best part.
That's it. That's it. He's a very picky walker. So they're going to be headed to Washington, and that's now the point that we see. So at the end, we get everyone back together, essentially, as Sasha's burying the grave for Tyrese, and they're going to be headed to Washington. So that's the main goal now.
Next thing.
That is the next place for them.
Also, during our after show for the mid-season finale, weren't we trying to figure out if Dawn, shot Beth?
Oh yeah. On purpose. Oh yeah, and they do have the whole discussion.
And Rick kind of clarifies that what he believed was she didn't.
It was an accident.
It was an accident. Like she didn't mean to do it on purpose or to hurt Beth.
Right.
I liked how he clarified that, because I think we were arguing about it back and forth last episode.
No, I think that's a great point. That's a discussion we didn't really talk about either. Was the discussion that they all had about where Rick's like, I would have shot her.
Yeah.
And he's like, about Beth. I'm not Beth. About Dawn. So trying to discuss that morality of what you would do in that situation, and how Glenn was also agreeing that he would have done it. And it's just they're questioning, does it mean they were inhumane or not inhumane, and where they stood in that regard. So they're still questioning that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also interested to see how Sasha's character changes, actually, because we saw Michonne change, once we kind of got a little bit more of her backstory as far as like with her child, her brother, and just how her, how she became bitter. And it's like now Sasha's lost Bob, she's lost her, Tyrese. So it's like, where is she going to change at this stage? Where's she going to go next?
I still can't believe she outlived Tyrese. I know. I kept thinking she wouldn't outlive him, but
I'm just surprised Gabriel is still. I know he's in the comic book and all, but I'm still like, of all people, I thought sure he would not outlive Tyrese.
Well, perhaps in terms of Sasha, perhaps Sasha and Maggie will sort of find solace in each other.
Together,
they both lost their siblings. I mean, they're not going to be like. I don't think Sasha's going to be as much of a wreck as Maggie is, but they'll probably not bond, but come together over that commonality that they have.
Yeah.
So maybe she'll change for the better.
We'll see. I don't know. I think she might get a little bit more hardcore.
I think, she's been pretty hardcore, and I think, especially with Bob, he kind of loosened her up as far as she was just
in many ways,
very tight. Well, let's not go there.
Whoa!
She was very.
I had to throw that in there.
I was sipping my drink.
Sorry.
I'm like, wait, I need to.
Hey,
she was just very tight-lipped.
That's part of the apocalypse.
Oh, she was very tight. Is that? Oh, was she?
No, whoa.
Maggie was way nicer when Glenn was putting it down. I'm just saying.
I think she just held a lot close to the vest and wasn't really. I never felt like she really talked to a lot of the other people. Yeah, well, just trying to find a terminology you guys won't butcher. But I think Bob was able to really crack into that psyche and let her talk, more openly.
Yeah, sure.
And Tyrese was the only other person who really knew her that well. So I think if you really think about it, Sasha kind of must be feeling like an outsider in the group. I don't think she has a major connection to anybody else. Everyone else was kind of a group beforehand.
Yeah.
Part of a group. And everyone from her original group, when they met the survivors, is gone.
That's true.
That's true. That is true.
So
All right, so another thing I want to bring up with Tyrese was how worried were you guys with the whole Tyrese thing? Did you think he was going to die? Did you think he was going to survive? Because for a while I was just thinking, just cut off the wound. We've seen it before. Just amputate it. Just get Michonne over there, cut it off. And then
But so much time passed.
Yeah, well, it did. And I was also wondering if if you notice, he cut it off at the elbow as opposed to the shoulder.
Yeah.
I was like, why didn't you cut it off at the shoulder?
But they
Why
didn't
didn't you
know.
cut it off at the shoulder?
Yeah.
And also, well, another thing too, I was thinking, why wasn't Mika the one really welcoming Tyrese to become a zombie, a walker? She should have been like, yes, one of us.
It's better here.
It's better.
Well, I think it's
better this
Tyrese's
way.
version of what he's thinking
sure.
of everyone. He always sees the good in so many of those people.
Yeah.
I think that's what he
Yeah.
was. That's his vision of what he thinks the characters would be like, I guess.
I did love when you saw him envision like the governor, and you saw him envision the girls pulling on his arm, and then it cuts back to what's actually happening in reality, like
Yeah.
the zombie
Oh, yeah.
coming at him, and then the two girls grabbing onto his arm was actually Rick and Noah, like grabbing onto
Yeah.
his arm while Michonne slices off his, his
Yeah,
forearm.
that was a great
I
transition.
really liked the editing in this episode. I really liked the composition and the way they
Yeah, they
executed everything.
Had a lot of great shots too, like with the slow mo of the
Yeah.
walkers coming, where you get to see the slow mo bullet going through it. I'm sorry, Nando, I interrupted
Oh
you.
no, it's cool. I was gonna say it was almost comical though. I have to admit, after they cut off the arm, it was almost comical them trying to get Tyrese out. Like if
yeah. He's a big dude.
if you put like the Benny Hill soundtrack behind it, I swear it really is.
You really
like,
dated yourself by saying Benny Hill.
I
by
know
the
I
way.
did, but if you hear yakety sax and in the background, it was really because it's like his foot gets caught in the wire. They can't pick him up. This and that, and I
Yeah.
even felt like they're in a town where they have garages, and I would think like
Oh, and
they
then the
could
car
solder
won't
the wound,
start, and then
the
it
car
hits the walker.
and then the tires aren't
Everything
going.
was just too convenient.
It was
Yeah.
like it was almost comical. I swear, like if you put a different music bed to it, it would be a
Yeah.
comedy as opposed to seeing what we're seeing.
You needed the scene where the car, went off to a weird start, so that you could see all those heads, all those severed heads.
That was so freaky.
that are
That was-
still
yeah,
biting.
Why?
and alive.
Why? Just why? Why not just stab the heads?
Just to show the scope of what people who were rummaging through the city did. I mean,
No, I know that, but I mean, why not just stab the heads of those things? Why? I mean, for the people rummaging through the city, why?
I don't know. I
Why
mean,
people rummaging through the city?
Did they
Tell
know
me.
that you had to kill them by hitting them in the heads? Like,
Like,
did
yeah,
they
we
know
chop off
that?
the limbs and it's fine.
They're like, why are these heads still chopping? Let's just put them in the truck.
I mean, my real problem with it, honestly, is the fact that Tyrese was so careful, like we were saying before,
Yeah.
knocking at the door, making sure there were no walkers around, and then the circumstance of how he got bit. It's like he became not careful because he was seeing the visions and all these things going on. I'm like, it didn't correlate together to me because he was so careful at the beginning.
was too convenient.
I think
You know what I mean?
it was fine to me that he, like the manner in which he went through the hallucinations and dying and all that. I just really wish that his way of getting bitten had been a little more believable in a way with his
I
character.
think it was very believable. Just
A little more epic.
I think if it was the Tyrese in the comic books and this was happening to him, I would be like calling shenanigans on that. But just, I mean, and I know
soft-hearted
there was somebody I know
Tyrese.
who loves that Tyrese. I know it just Tyrese was just a character that unfortunately didn't seem as strong as he did in the comics, and he was so wishy-washy, and he was like didn't want to kill anybody for the longest time, even walkers. And I could just see him. It's just more feasible seeing him being careless as opposed to Rick or Michonne or even Glenn.
I mean, I see your point. I see your point.
So something else we were talking about too is the blood loss, and that's probably why he died, was the blood loss in the end too. But I have to wonder. It's just made me wonder. We were talking about tourniquets. I'm like, I wonder if they thought you employed a tourniquet.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see that stuff.
Like a rag, a blanket, something.
Well, I was saying, wouldn't they? I don't know. couldn't they find something to burn the end of
That's
his
what I mean.
arm?
Garages, so
at
many
that
garages
point,
in that town. Why did they have to go all the way out of town to try and save him? They
As
could
much
have.
blood as he was losing.
Yeah.
Right. I also want to bring up. It makes me think of. I threw my pen. 'cause
As
I
you
wanted to
throw
bring
your
up-
AFTERBUZZ pen
It's more
on
just like a
stage.
cool fun fact that I wanted to bring up. That I was in Boy Scouts for a long time, and when I first started, they used to have you learn how to do a tourniquet, and they're like, actually, this is a bad idea. We shouldn't teach kids how to do a tourniquet because it will actually destroy your limb if you use it. But it's for situations like this in real world. When in the real world you get bitten by a walker, that's what it's for. But I just thought that was kind of a fun fact that they used to teach it in Boy Scouts and they stopped teaching it. It's something they don't teach anymore. But
So maybe Rick never learned. Just
yeah,
so you know.
exactly. Yeah, well, he's a cop.
all the things he
He's a
does
cop.
now.
They
He
probably
would
teach him.
know.
You
Yeah.
think?
I would think
don't know.
so. Yeah.
He would know.
I
But
would
we
think he
should
would.
probably move on to. We've actually got a bunch of news and gossip.
Let's do it.
AFTERBUZZ TV News.
Yeah. So I'm sure everyone has seen. Oh, I wanted to pull this up. You kind of want to give me more of it. I'm sure everyone's
just talk
seen.
around it. It's
We'll
fine.
talk around it. It's all good. But I'm sure everyone has seen the the new cover of Entertainment Weekly, which is pretty awesome. We have an image as well featuring Norman Reedus.
Bite Me, I love it. It says
I love it.
Isn't it awesome? So if you look inside, they actually show the shirt that he wore. It was pretty much just a regular shirt, and I guess the art director wrote "Bite Me," and then they did sweat spray and they put little blood stuff on it, and they totally zombified the shirt.
They Derrial-fied him.
They Derrial-fied the shirt, so it looks pretty badass. Anyway, so the shirt itself, you can buy just a normal shirt for $20, but they're actually auctioning off the shirt that Norman Reedus wore for this, and it's going to charity. If you go on CharityBuzz.com, you can find it, and you can find the image. Last I checked,
I'm gonna wear that every day.
I would.
Trust me, people. I showed this. Alexis, one of our producers, like, I want that shirt so bad. So many people want that shirt. We should have another image of the actual shirt by itself.
Oh, there it is.
But there we go.
Jeez,
I want to
price.
see the blood on it.
So it's all decked out like with makeup and I don't think it's real blood. It might be real sweat from Derrial, but they actually use sweat spray
That's
as
the reason to
well.
buy it.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, so the shirt's worth $20, and then they did whatever they did to it, and they valued the estimated value on the CharityBuzz.com site is $1,000. Right now,
That's a lot of money for corn syrup.
$1,000 exactly, and there's 26 bids in, and right now the current price is $5,750.
I don't want it anymore. I used to want it, but now I don't.
Sorry.
My auction voting is off.
So if you are,
I will withdraw.
I withdraw from the auction.
yeah, so if you're a really, really big fan,
Pulling the thing you hold up down.
the sensibility lever.
Yeah.
if you're a really, really big fan of Norman Reedus and you want to wear something that he wore or have it around, there you go. Just
So
$6,000.
ladies out there, you can sort of have a chance to
Sell your car.
You'll be connected somehow.
Sell your
Very
car.
connected.
See
It'll
what
be
you
your
can
one
do.
degree of separation from Norman Reedus.
A very creepy degree of separation. I wore his fake sweat. Yes.
And fake corn syrup.
Yeah. Another thing.
Smell it every night.
Something that was also mentioned on this week's issue of EW Entertainment Weekly was Sonequa Martin Green, who plays Sasha, and I think we talked about this briefly last couple of episodes ago. We found out she was pregnant.
Yeah.
And we actually went, and of course I was predicting she'd probably die because she's pregnant, so they can't do anything. She actually gave birth. She already gave birth.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
On January 10th, she gave birth to a baby boy. Kendrick Austin Green is the name, and
good for her.
they accordingly they actually shot the whole season with her pregnant.
Wow.
Oh,
So
cool.
they had her like in a lot of loose fitting clothes. You know how usually like in TV when someone's
No wonder
pregnant.
she's wearing Bob's jacket.
Yeah, there you go. She has big guns in front of her, and they have some more loose
I
clothes.
love how you grabbed kind of like your breast area when you did that.
No, this is supposed to be an imaginary gun. Where's your mind?
Let's go back to our
at?
previous conversation
Where's your
about
mind?
tightening things and loosening things.
Yeah, totally.
Well,
So.
congratulations to her.
Yeah, congratulations, sir.
So-
That's great.
Awesome.
And I guess I guess maybe something to look out for this the rest of this season when we're seeing Sasha, to see exactly how the clothes are playing out and see what they're doing. It's not like a regular TV show when someone's pregnant; they can hide them behind like office equipment,
Yeah.
depending on their scene. They're out
She's on the
shooting
move.
zombies. She's on the move.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear the way they did it with giant guns. We'll just throw her behind giant guns.
Giant guns. There you go.
Perfect. There we go.
And
Sounds good.
they have her shot like head on instead of profile, so you don't see the bump as
Watch
much.
her kid comes out to be like a sharpshooter.
See, I'm
He
imagining.
grows up to be like a
We were
hunter.
speculating that maybe Bob was the father and they would play the pregnancy in it. I think I remember.
See,
we talked
yeah,
a
we
little
did
bit
say
of
that. Yeah.
See, I'm imagining that next episode she's gonna end up with a chain gun and she'll just carry that around the whole time. It's literally a giant chain gun. And
They don't need
go
another
Rambo
baby in
style.
a zombie apocalypse, so they don't. I mean,
I was just saying that
That's
I
a
think a
lot.
chain gun is a good way to hide a pregnancy bump. If you're holding a chain gun, that'll block it off pretty well.
Aw.
Well, also, so we obviously see that Tyrese is gone, and back in November we didn't really talk about it, but the actor who plays Tyrese was actually I got a casting news for he was going to be on a sci-fi show, which I'm trying to pull up the name, but I don't have it right in front of me right now. But
Good for him.
Just so you guys know, there is actually another actor who got cast in something. So if you don't want to know, I mean, this is it's pilot season 2, so you have to understand that actors
I don't know
who
if we
may
should say it.
who may
Probably shouldn't
be
say it.
out
Probably
or
shouldn't.
in, they kind of like next thing you know they get cast in other shows, and there's always a speculation: will they stay alive? Or they're probably goners. This one's not so major.
We should
maybe
probably
you should
say
do
you
that
can
to
look
your
it up.
prediction or
Yeah.
something.
You can
No, no,
look it
well-
up if you want to.
Well, no. Well, people, I think it's not that major, but I'll let you know right now if you want to just put your fingers in your ears for 30 seconds, I'll just say.
Or fast forward.
Well, yeah, it's 30 seconds. Just hold on. I'll just say it right now. Tyler James Williams has been cast in a CSI spinoff.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not
I'm actually okay with that.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not saying Andrew Lincoln. If it was Andrew Lincoln, be like, holy crap, what's going on here?
Ruin the show.
Holy crap! But yeah, Chad Coleman is joining the cast of the. It's called The Expanse on Sci-Fi Network. So just so you know about that. And then stuff that we haven't really talked about much. Ross Marquand is a new cast member that's going to be joining.
When I first heard that news, I got really excited because I love the Impression Guys on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he has a web series with another impressionist where it's kind of a web series that illustrates how voice actors how them as voice actors want to make it out of voice acting and more into dramatic acting. Yeah. So here's Ross Marquand in a dramatic role, which is fun.
I've interviewed a lot of voice actors for AfterBuzz's Voice of.
Nice plug.
Check it out. Well, there's a lot of people do interviews, but a lot of them really want to get into dramatic work and dramatic acting, so that's great to hear.
I'm glad for him. And also, it's funny because if you look up Ross Marquand, Rick Grimes, his Rick Grimes impression is on point.
Really?
Nice.
It's so great.
So it makes you wonder because they're just calling it a mystery character right now. There was some speculation on who he might play from where we're expecting them to be going, but I would like to see him do a Rick impression to Rick, like be a comical guy.
Maybe. I mean, it could be a thing.
Yeah, they'll be on the show and they're just talking back and forth to each other.
Just joking around.
But I don't know if I would appreciate, him like going into his normal impression, in the show, because it's like I want to see him in a different role.
Oh yeah. I'm hopeful he did.
Yeah, I'm sure he's gonna be great. So I'm excited. Hopefully we can get him on the show.
We'll
That's
work
really
on
what that was all about.
That's two out of the three was in the
Ross?
truck earlier. I won't even say it, but 2 out of the 3 in the truck earlier. My prediction.
There we go. and then lastly, and some of this news is already out there. You guys probably already knew this but it's been like about a month and a half, 2 months since we've really been doing this. But finally, more information is being revealed about the spinoff for the Walking Dead.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
And what we know so far, according to Vanity Fair, there's a temporary title right now. It's probably not going to stick, but the title right now, because I saw someone on the chat room asking what they think that the spinoff's going to be called. The temporary title is Fear the Walking Dead, which I don't think is going to stick.
Yeah, that's a little bit too close.
Yeah, AMC hasn't confirmed it. I mean, usually when things are in pre-production or just being made, there's always like little temporary ones. But usually they're far off the mark to try and hide what the production is. Like movies do that really well when they're trying to hide their big budget productions. But I think it's just, I don't know. Vanity Fair says that's what it is, and AMC's not saying anything. But anyway, this takes place in LA. And it takes place, and according to what they're saying, it looks like this is going to be a prequel, more or less. Like, we're going to see how the outbreak takes place. Yeah. So it's going to be more in the past. And it features a dysfunctional family, and in the cast, in case you know any of these people, Kim Dickens, who was in Gone Girl, Cliff Curtis, who was in Training Day, Frank Delane, I can't remember who he played, but he was in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and Alicia Denman Gary from The 100.
So I guess the cool thing is that if it's in LA, at least that means it really is something totally different.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Georgia and California are right next to each other. I know geography, I know they're not. But the point is, we're probably not going to see them actually interact, which I like. I like the fact that it's going to be something completely different, personally.
Yeah. As it should be, I think.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I believe that's a lot, but I believe that's about everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of news and gossip.
I've been itching.
You were serious when you said that when you walked in. All right, so
I got a lot.
Let's head on over to predictions then.
Let's do it.
And now,
I missed
your
those lights.
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
We're out of water. We're out of food. We're out of everything.
Tyrese is dead.
What do we do?
We have miles to go. No. Or how much longer? 60 miles? No. I mean, how much longer do we have it in us to keep on going?
So dramatic.
That's basically, so it looks like it's going to be traveling to Washington, and the whole episode is about them struggling because they don't have enough to eat and live. That's pretty much what it looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have any predictions. I don't think anyone's going to die next episode because of how big this one was.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
The last two. I mean,
the fact that's weird that we got 2 big deaths 2 episodes in a row in completely different situations. That was surprising. I wasn't expecting a death at all this episode, but I'd be really surprised if they had another big death next episode. I mean, it'd be cool because I would be surprised, but I don't think so.
They're going to Games of Thrones us. I think no one's going to die next episode either. It's going to be kind of a
somber.
Like a somber. It'll kind of be a low in the season.
And
they're definitely going to be alone for a while. I don't see any new people or new groups that they're going to encounter anytime soon. So.
Yeah, I think my biggest prediction is that I think we're going to see a major change from Sasha. I think that just because of the death of Tyrese and then Bob, I think, how we saw Michonne be the more hardcore person in the group as far as the females. I think we're going to see that transition happen with Sasha.
See, I was thinking,
even the way she was throwing the dirt over for the grave, I just feel like we're going to see a mental thing going on.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was going to be almost the opposite for Sasha, because the people who died were the positive ones, and she was always the hardcore one. Like, Bob was always a positive light. Tyrese was always the positive one. And the fact that they're both dead, maybe she'll try to pick up some of their traits in a way, because almost in memory of them. I'm trying to remember, like, this is what they said. Yeah.
We'll see.
Could be. So we'll battle. We'll duke it out and see what happens next week.
Side by side.
I think.
Put up the dukes.
I think we're not saying, because I guess we feel like it might be a spoiler, but in the comics, like, when they go to Washington, they end up at this other area, and obviously it's kind of hard to predict something that we know is going to happen. But I definitely feel like I kind of echo all you guys. I just think they need to be that much more desperate and that much more like, like hopeless, like living in hopelessness. And just from what we could see, it just sounds like they gotta go down further before they get back up.
Well, I think that's next week's going to be just all about the struggle and trying to get there. I don't necessarily think there's going to be any big groups per se. I think you'll specifically focus on the struggle they're going through. And I mean, we haven't really seen them struggle too much with traveling that much. But usually it's just, they're there and they talk about food and rations, but they're always fine.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're actually struggling for once, I think is really going to focus on this is the hardships of traveling, the way they're traveling.
I agree.
I'm guessing the closer they get to Washington, maybe the less food they're finding, because it was a major urban area, and maybe it was just ransacked that much sooner. So maybe that makes sense.
Probably.
That would make sense. That's a good point.
True.
Yeah. So.
Till next week.
All right.
Next week.
Till next week. All right, so we'll find out next week. But thank you guys so much for joining us for the mid-season premiere, I suppose. Mid-season premiere of Walking Dead with quite the crazy episode. So once again, I'm Dave Klein. You can find me on Twitter at @TheDaveKlein. That's KLEIN.
And my name is Nando Velasquez. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Nandovel, NANDOVEL.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Joyce Ajouri. That's JAJOURI, and on the Shameless and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcasts.
I am Derrial Christon. You can find me, DerrialChriston, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I have a long name.
Yeah.
You can find me on Black Hollywood Live and also Ease Untold with Maria Menounos.
Ooh, all right, nice. All right, so we'll see you guys next time. Later, guys. Bye.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.